Good evening. We are watching this fire continue. It's been going for several hours now. This is on the Ventura County coastline. I do want to get to our storm reports right now because winds have been a major factor with this. Here are the latest peak wind gusts over the last 24 hours. Now, it's in the fire area, again, right here, this locator, we've been seeing 42-mile-per-hour gusts in that area. 42 miles per hour up on the hillside. Carpinteria, 19 miles per hour, and in the upper 30s down towards Ventura and Oxnard. So winds have continued to be strong. Even Santa Barbara, very strong winds up there in the 50s. So winds are not stopping anytime soon. I also want to show you the direction of these winds. I'm using our live storm tracker Doppler radar to show you exactly this. This is the smoke. We usually use the Doppler radar to pick up the rain. Right now, we're doing that dense smoke. You can see it there. And look as it moves over the last several hours. You've really seen it there. Heavier smoke moving out, exactly showing you the direction the smoke is moving. It's moving, the wind coming from the mountains, coming over the hill and going south out towards the Channel Islands. That's the direction. We're tracking it with that. Now, we do have a wind advisory in effect with possible gusts up to 50 miles per hour. We haven't seen any 50-mile-per-hour winds reported. Now, it doesn't mean we haven't seen them. It's just we don't have the tools to actually report these winds in some of these spots in the rural areas out here. Again, this advisory in effect through 12 o'clock Sunday, so we're not expecting these winds to die down, unfortunately. Futurecast winds, here's 3 a.m. continuing gusty winds through Santa Barbara, Ojai area. They continue. Here's 4 a.m. You don't get a break. By tomorrow morning, 6:30, we're still seeing those winds down towards Santa Barbara. What you will notice tomorrow is, look, the Santa Barbara South Coast area starts to calm down a bit, but we have a Santa Ana event. This is where it gets yellow, where it gets green. That's the higher wind speeds, and we really see it pick up, moving over the mountains. Not good news for fighting the fires in that area, so that is something we are closely watching as well. Another thing, humidity levels very low. We have been seeing dry conditions, especially the Santa Barbara South Coast area. Up north, we have been seeing rain, but it hasn't been making its way down into the coastline, so there's not a lot of moisture in the area. John, we're continuing to watch the winds, which direction they're going, and how strong they are. I'll continue to update you. Back to you.
All right, Claire, thanks very much. I'm John Parliamentary with Claire Anderson and the entire News Channel 3 team that is on the scene on the freeway at Solimar Beach. And we are looking at a live shot there from one of our crews. And that shot is coming to you from the tunnel at Emmawood State Beaches. That's where the fire has burned to. It started out about 11:10 this evening, roughly, and then grew to 100 acres in the first phase of it. Now it's at 250 plus acres. And that's just a guesstimate. We're in the middle of the night in the darkness and rugged terrain with canyons and hills and wind and blowing embers on both sides of the freeway, and a lot of dynamics going on there. We have just learned some new information from the Ventura County Fire Department. They're calling for a voluntary evacuation of Solimar Beach. There are 30 homes in that area. Residents there, for the most part, are very aware that this fire has been taking place, and we had some of the residents contacting us, and we've had some of them on the phones. You're seeing the first pictures now coming out of that area of some voluntary evacuations. Senator De Los Santos on the scene there, sending back these pictures of residents who are clearing out of their homes, packing up their cars, blankets over their shoulders, getting their kids and possibly their pets as well and their personal belongings. You need to have a ready, set, go plan in case the fire department, the sheriff's department, CHP, or police tell you to get out and get out soon. This is a voluntary evacuation, and they're helping them to get out. They also have, in this particular area, as you heard, the fire department has put in its resources. They have structure protection engines down there, and fire crews, battalion chiefs, strike teams, whatever they need in that area to protect these 30 homes, they're going to set up in those driveways and help these people get out and also protect the homes there, as we've seen in many other fires. This is not directly in the path, but this fire is spreading out in different directions because of the erratic winds and the showering of sparks and the dry hillsides. Even though we've had a little bit of rain, with the winds that we have had, it just sets you right back to square one again with an extremely high fire danger area along our coastline. And we had those powerful winds. They are still blowing, as you see there now. And earlier this evening, we had just a complete wall of embers coming at our camera there that Henry Galvano is holding up. And at one one point, he said he had to move the car down the freeway because the fire was essentially flanking the freeway and chasing him. The embers were on the freeway. They're on the center divider. They're on both the north and southbound sides of the freeway. And they were certainly in the area he was at, and he was trying to get back enough to give you the shot and be safe there, and also try not to be in an area, as we have done in these dynamic situations before. You turn around and the fire has jumped over you, and it's burning now on both sides of your field reporters or camera crew. So he's a veteran news videographer with over 20 years of experience out there, possibly more, and he has picked a safe spot down by the tunnel at Emmawood State Beaches, and he's got his car pointed to a safe direction, he tells us. But he is on the front line of the Solimar fire, bringing you these images of this fire that continues to burn out of control. On the left side of your screen, you see the live picture, and look at those winds blowing the fire along the flanking of the freeway in an area that is rugged, rural, agricultural, and also industrialized with some oil facilities. On the right side of your screen, you see the earlier fire there and how big and explosive it was during the most powerful peak of the winds, up to 42 miles an hour. And you have two different dynamics there. You have the winds that we see being clocked on the radar or the wind machines down there in our First Alert Weather Center, the technology we have there. And then you have the dynamics created by the fire itself with the wind, the heat, the canyons, the terrain, and all that goes on there. And we have seen in many fires in the past just exactly how that changes, and that at times the fire looks like it's going offshore, then it'll be all mixed up and start going a different direction. It'll get to the base of a hill and climb up, and there's a much faster percentage of a climb of the fire going up the terrain than backing its way down a hillside. And firefighters know that well. They see if it's in a drainage, it's going to go a certain direction and then race up a hill, and they have to, in some cases, give it up and get back to a defensive position to save lives and property, get people out ahead of this fire. There's Dullah. You don't hear of that word Dullah too often unless you're familiar with our coast, and that's the Solimar Beach area. And that graphic right there shows you on both sides of the freeway as precisely as we can where the fire is. Sometimes in these graphics we don't exactly have the exact pinpoint because of the dynamics, but you can see what we're talking about. And those roads there, I believe C.J. Ward, when he was here earlier, was saying just how twisty and turny and windy they are back there, and that's where they have some agriculture. But that part has also a lot of oil facilities there. And Candy Dugan, who was one of our viewers from Faria Beach that we put on the air earlier, said there was an oil lease right in that area where her husband believed he saw the fire start. At the time, the winds were howling. I mean, it was incredible, the impact on the south coast. We were getting reports of some corrugated roofs flying off and power lines down and tree limbs breaking, and some of the dynamics even here at TV Hill in Santa Barbara had our building shaking for well over an hour with the buffering winds that were coming through. And look at the shot there of the live shot of the firefighters, an engine shining lights there, which looks like he's on Highway 1 now, below the freeway, or generally in the area of the railroad tracks, and they are definitely in the area where there's some structures. That's Henry Galvan's shot there, and the wind continues to blow, and this gives us a good idea of the direction of the fire going back down towards Emmawood, looks like, and that's what Henry was telling us a short time ago. The firefighters staging there to be able to relay the information as to where the fire is spreading, because it has so many edges to it now that are expanding or flaring up. And we're very fortunate to have that shot right inside the fire lines at a location where the freeway is completely shut down. We have other reporters and equipment heading to that area, but it's going to be difficult to get in. As we all know, it's going to take some time. This fire broke out at a little after 11 o'clock tonight in strong winds in the hills above Solimar Beach. This is a live picture you're looking at now, and some residents have evacuated in a voluntary evacuation. Union Pacific has closed down the train lines. And let's see if we can go back now. This is going to be a very difficult, hopefully you can hear us. I know what it's like out there when the winds are blowing so strongly on this fire line, and that's Henry Galvan. Henry, are you on Highway 1 below the freeway there? Is that where this shot's coming from?
That's correct. Yeah, I am actually on the State Beaches Road. I'm just north of State Beaches exit on Highway 1. About, I would say, maybe a mile and a half from Ventura, from Main Street.
You know, we've been reporting on this for quite some time, but this helps us frame that this fire is much closer to the city of Ventura than maybe we had told our viewers earlier. But tell us about the spread that direction. Is there cause for concern at this point of it continuing to move that direction? And I've got to recall, I believe Highway 33 is between you and the city anyway, that has to get through as well, right?
Yeah, that's correct. It's burning north of the Ventura River. So it's burning along the ridge, headed, what I saw was it was headed east, so more towards Ojai. It was starting to burn in that direction. But up at the top of the hill, maybe an hour. So this fire is burning in all sorts of directions right now. I mean, I can't even tell you, you know, where at this point it's heading. It could be, I know that it's down by Solimar. I know it's up on the ridge. I know it's down here by the by Emmawood, burning by the tunnel. It's a little difficult to see, but the smoke seems to be just blowing in all directions.
Yeah, I know what it's like out there.
But at the very top.
You're in your spot, but it's so hard to see what the big picture is. And we appreciate you sizing that up for sure. And I know you only get a few breaks in that wind to be able to see some clearing in there. You've inhaled so much and you've been so shrouded by smoke. But your size up is invaluable right now to help us. What's your game plan from here on out? Do you have your escape route, and do you have room to move around and keep these images going? Are you safe?
Yeah, I'm in a pretty safe location. I'm actually up above on the bridge. You can actually see like embers blowing right now, coming up from the brush that's burning alongside Highway 1. Yeah, it's but there's no brush on my on the left or the right side of the vehicle. It's all burning on the opposite side of the road there. So I'm in a pretty safe location, and my escape route is planned. I've pointed my vehicle towards the city of Ventura. If for any reason this decides to flare up again and gets a little too dangerous, but no, I'm in a good location right now.
Okay. Henry, thank you very much, and keep everything powered up out there. We'll come back to you a little bit later, and we'll keep that shot up as well. We're going to be switching to one of our other reporters as well. That's Henry Galvan. He is our veteran videographer for News Channel 3, who has more than 20 years experience in the front line of news, and he's not only down there with equipment embedded right there on the freeway in the heart of this Solimar fire, but he's able to give you a very accurate size up compared to what he has seen over the year and what fire dynamics are. Also on the scene in that area, and I don't know precisely where she is located, but she's been able to make it in as well, and that's Senator de los Santos. And a short time ago, she gave us some of those pictures of people evacuating. Senator, thank you for joining us as well, and give us the very latest on where you're at and what the residents are doing there at Solimar Beach.
Well, John, we're here at Solimar Beach. Now, we don't know much information. What I do know is that Solimar residents have been evacuated under mandatory evacuation, that is. I just got done talking with the battalion. He also told me that they are now evacuating residents at the Faria Beach. So obviously the 101 freeway is closed. That has been closed for some time now. And now the PCH is also closed. As you can see how windy it is, it's uncontrollable. I'm standing next to a resident. Your name, please?
Canyon King.
And Canyon Key, I spoke with your father earlier. You guys were going to try to stay here, right?
Yeah.
Is that still the case?
Yes.
Oh, you guys are going to stay, even though it's a mandatory evacuation.
Yeah, well, we're just going to try to do everything we can to, keep the house in check.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
No.
A little nervous?
Yeah. I'm from out of state, so it's definitely a little nerve-wracking.
Probably not the way you plan to spend your Christmas vacation, right?
No.
But a great way to, a great story to tell when you get back.
Most definitely.
So what we can tell you, too, is that firefighters have been door knocking since midnight, right? What did they tell you?
They just told us all the stuff to put away that would burn and to leave.
And so what did you guys have to put away?
Boxes, cardboard boxes, rugs, anything flammable that was outside.
And what time did you notice the fire?
I think it was actually like 12:01. My mom came and woke me up.
And obviously you guys have been checking it out ever since then. And
Yeah.
Can you just describe to the people at home how big this fire has gotten since midnight?
It has grown amazing big. Wow. It's huge.
It is huge. Thank you so much, and stay safe.
Yeah.
Once again, we're at Solimar Beach, and emergency evacuation is declared at Solimar Beach, also at Faria Beach. The PCH is closed, as well as the 101, and as you can see, there's ashes flying everywhere. If you take a look behind me, the fire is now extremely close to the freeway. The battalion also told me that he fears that it will jump into the residential area. That's why crews are ready to fight this fire when need be. John, I'm going to go talk to the battalion, get some more updates. We'll be out here all night, so I'm sure we'll be bringing you live information as it becomes more available. Live at Solimar Beach, Senator De Los Santos, News Channel 3.
All right, Senator Ray, thank you so much for that firsthand account of what the evacuation has been like for that resident down there at Solimar Beach who is from out of the area and has been told to secure the home. He's going to stay, but it looks like there's going to be some conversations with these residents that think they're going to say to maybe advise them that could leave them in peril. The fire department has certainly set up plenty of fire equipment in that area, but look at the aggressive flames and wind. Now, this is more of a precise shot of how dangerous and how active this fire is in that area. We also need to frame it as to what can burn, but even though there's not tremendous, there's a break there obviously, and that'll burn down, but those embers can get into the homes, and that's why they tell residents to get those cardboard boxes out of the area, anything that's firewood next to the house that can get those embers and then get into the house, and we've seen homes go that way that are quite a distance away, and that's why that warning is there. Claire Anderson is in our First Alert Weather Center, and now with these images, Claire, there's CJ War setting up too. We'll get to him in a while with his safety gear on. With these images, we can see the direction of the flames and the wind. Let's get the very latest from Claire Anderson in our First Alert Center. Claire?
Yeah, John, I just saw an update posted to the Ventura County Emergency website. They are now reporting 900 acres with this fire. The last report we had was 250. Now it is officially up to 900. Again, reported by the Ventura County Emergency Information Center. So this is going very quickly. The reason for that, here's a look at the latest fire forecast officially put out from the National Weather Service, getting reports from the firefighter crews, putting it into terms. So here we go. For today, now we are into Saturday. We're looking at winds between 20 to 30 miles per hour coming from the north over the hill down towards the ocean, gusting up to 45 miles per hour. And then for tonight, again, that's Saturday night, northwest winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Humidity levels this morning, we're going to start around 25%, but as we head into the afternoon, it's going to dry out even more because we're looking at complete sunshine. And then later tonight, again, Saturday night, it will increase a bit as we do have those temperatures dropping. Temperatures, again, for today, we're not going to warm up too much. 62 to 65 degrees for that area. Overnight dropping into the 30s. Now let's take a look at those peak wind gusts. We've been seeing 42 mile per hour wind gusts in this area, 42 up into the hills, a little bit less head towards Carpinteria, 38 miles per hour winds. I want to go back to Santa Barbara because check out these winds. 53 mile per hour winds. They've only been increasing since we've been talking about this fire. we could see those winds increase again down towards the fire area. Another really great tool we have, that live storm tracker Doppler radar, is showing not rain, which we usually use it for. This is the smoke, and it's continuing to move out towards the ocean, and that's the direction those flames are going. So, John, we're keeping a close eye on everything. Back to you.
All right, Claire, thanks very much, and I appreciate that update. And every time we go to that First Alert Weather Center, we get some new and accurate information from that region, and also the potential for more winds throughout the morning hours and when they might die down. And right now, that is not the picture. It is going to be very dangerous and still continuing to be a fire that is going to be threatening to homes and more acreage now. You know, earlier this evening, we had 125 acres, a little after 11, then 250, and now 900 acres. CJ Ward has arrived on the scene now. He is at Solimar Beach, where the evacuations are mandatory. And CJ, what can you tell us about the conditions there and what is happening on the ground?
All right, John, we're down here live at Solimar Beach. If you look behind me, we just had some new fire crews show up. You can see the flames on that hillside right there. Right up behind that area is the 101 freeway, which is shut down right now. And just in the last minute or so, if we can pan the camera around this way, you're going to see the spot fire that's come down on this side of the 101 freeway along the PCH. Now you got firefighters lined up along this entire stretch of roadway, and you can see the hillside back up there where the fire started. And you'll see huge pockets of flames, and this wind is just pushing the flames all over the place. The other problem, too, is you've got burning embers that are flying through the air. We've had a couple palm trees. In fact, if you can turn, again, the camera around, you'll see that we've got firefighters shooting water up into these palm trees, which have been catching on fire. Again, we're seeing the fire spot. It's shooting at least 50 yards at a time, and we just had a moment ago, just before we went live, that palm tree you're looking at right there was on fire. Again, we've been instructed by fire crews that if this fire continues to move towards us, we're going to have to move more to the north. In fact, we're starting to see some of the fire crews moving up more to the north to get away from these flames that are moving toward us. We do know that residents are already packing up and getting out of here. Again, this is Solimar Beach. We do know that residents up the beach towards Faria, they're also packing up and getting out as well. And the last thing we heard, this fire is about 900 acres, and with this kind of wind, it's going to be growing fast. So again, take a look behind me. You can see what firefighters are up against. You've just got that whole hillside there on fire. You've got the smoke. We have homes that are right behind us from our location point. So you can see a lot of these people have already packed up. They've moved out, trying to give firefighters as much room as possible to operate. We have more of them showing up by the minute. Again, you can just see the flames as they shoot over that hillside. You're looking up at a hill. Just above that hill again is the 101 freeway. Then you have the homes, and then right behind these homes you have the beach. But these winds are so fierce, and they're not just 40, 45 miles an hour. They're 45, 50, 60 miles an hour, and they're swirling. And that's the part that makes this so difficult. Many times we're told, watch the direction of the smoke, and you know which way the fire is headed. But the way this wind is moving, it's swirling, so you don't know which way the flames are going. That's the danger of this fire. John, we're going to throw it back up to you. It looks like the firefighters are starting to back up, and we're going to join them.
On the PCH at CJ Ward, 900 acres have burned, and you can tell from his location, from the description he's been giving us, and from his voice that this fire that did not a short time ago look like it was going to get into this area has started to move towards Solimar Beach, jump down to the PCH, get into the brush on the ocean side towards the homes there, and also into the palm trees there. And firefighters are trying to get those burning embers out in the palm trees before they go up like torches, lined up in front of those homes and start to shower the rooftops and the vehicles and the properties there. And look at the response by the Ventura County Fire Department and associated agencies racing in and trying to establish structure protection in that area, backing their trucks up next to these homes, getting their hoses pulled, and figuring out their game plan on how they're going to save these homes. There goes CJ CJ wearing that orange suit there, his flame retardant suit, trying to find a new location as well. Our cameraman right behind him, and they're looking for a safe spot. And you can see they're surrounded on that side by flames. Homes are on what would be the left side of your screen, on the left side of these fire trucks. If you've driven down PCH, it's a beautiful location. A lot of people ride bikes there. There's campgrounds. These homes are right next to the water, and they've had those king tides lately, and now they turn around and they have fire coming down the hills. Now, what the issue will be there, if you know, certainly the asphalt is to the novice a fuel break, that the fire won't burn on that. But these embers are blowing from the hills with these strong winds, and that's the problem. We have seen embers get into the trees, then in the houses. We've seen the embers get to the items next to the houses and start those on fire. We've seen embers go through vents, open windows, under the eaves, and these locations, and get to these homes when they seemingly are not going to catch fire. And by the time they catch fire, then the firefighters see that, and they have to try and stop that. We've seen so many homes go up that look like they're going to be protected or have the right type of clearance or the right types of roofs. But this is a scary situation for these folks there who a short time ago were on no evacuation, then a voluntary evacuation, then quickly a mandatory evacuation. So they are they're being evacuated. I believe there's 30 homes there. The trains are stopped. The freeway is completely closed down with a hard closure. And News Channel 3 is on the ground now with several crews and cameras. This shot is from Henry Galvan, once again on the front line, and he is opposite of CJ at the tunnel of Emma Woods State Beach. So that's the framing of this fire. And Henry, how is the fire progressing in your area?
Well, John, the winds have picked up here in the last, I'd say 15 minutes. You probably saw a shot earlier of the smoke and the embers blowing straight into the camera. It was pretty intense there, and you can see right now how the winds are starting to pick up a little bit. They're starting to gust, and just these embers are flying everywhere. It's still pretty dangerous out here, even though the fire has seemed to burn most of itself out in this area. But you can actually see these embers blowing, and these things can travel quite a ways and start fires far down. The wind manages to carry them pretty far, and they can start a fire, anywhere from half a mile to a mile from here. So it's still pretty dangerous out here. It's very thick smoke and a lot of embers floating around.
Okay, Henry, thank you very much. And I want to tell you that CJ Ward's up there at Solimar, and they have called for a mandatory evacuation there. Fire has burned down onto Highway 1 in the brush there, and some of the homes there have some palm trees that have had some sparks get in there, just as you were describing the spread of these embers. And Henry is at Emma Wood State Beach. CJ Ward and Senator De Los Santos and Paul Mahalik are up at Solimar, and Mike Linberry is on the phone from the Ventura County Fire Department there. Captain Linberry was on with us earlier with the size up. He returns now here at 2:04 in the morning on this devastating fire that is spreading along our coastal Ventura County, northern Ventura County coastline. Captain Linberry, what's the potential of this fire now at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Well, John, as you know, our acreage has been increasing for, ever since this fire started. We're up around 900 acres now by our best estimate. I think there's a lot of potential with this fire. I know what the weather forecast is, and the weather forecast is not good. We've got a lot of brush fields north of this fire. We've got a lot of brush fields as this fire burns to the east and gets in close to the Ventura riverbed. There's a lot of arundinodonax, that bamboo that burns very rapidly in that area, and a lot of agricultural properties. So we have a lot to deal with here, John. We have made a lot of orders, resource orders from Central California, from Southern California. And as I said earlier, I expect that we will see a lot of different fire agencies in our base camp at Ventura County Fairgrounds in the morning when we have our briefing at 9 this morning.
We hear you get us moving over to the eastern flank. We have some folks on the Faria Beach area and maybe all the way up to La Conchita. What can you tell them right now based on the wind and the movement of this fire?
Well, it's been a dynamic situation, and initially with Solimar Beach, it was best just to shelter people in place because fire conditions were directly in that area, and to pull people from their homes and have them get on the road would have been probably not a safe thing to do. At this point now, we have set up a route. Solimar Beach area is under a mandatory evacuation. Faria Beach has just gone under a voluntary evacuation, and we are advising all residents as they evacuate to travel north on PCH to the 101 toward Carpinteria. That is the safest way out.
And I know that you have the sheriff and the CHP to guide these residents out there safely and to help them just find their path out and get away from this fire until it simmers down. I've been telling our viewers how coordinated you guys all are well before you have an incident. And could you recap just briefly that you know how to call it as you see it and call for everybody? And it seems like they all know where to go and what to do right away.
Yeah. Well, you know, we are very fortunate to live here in California for a number of reasons. One of those reasons is the beauty of our terrain and our weather. Unfortunately, with the amount of brush fires that we've had in this area over the years, it makes things a little difficult as it is now in this area. But what we have developed through that is a very good mutual aid system. We have probably the best mutual aid system of anywhere in the world here in California, and some of the best firefighters. You know, this fighting this fire didn't start tonight. It started, you know, from a rookie's first day on the job when they start getting that training, and it continues through to the end of their career. You know, we have engine companies that know the area and where to put people. We have commanders that are you know, grouping up resources and assigning them to the proper places. And then we have higher level people that are ordering the resources that we're going to need to replace them, because these people that are fighting the fire now are going to be tired pretty soon.
That's right. And can you update me as well about the air resources? We talked about that earlier, and folks by now know that it's not possible to really have much of an aerial attack under these conditions in this time of day. But what is up, what can go up now, and what's going to happen at dawn?
Right. Well, it's not necessarily the time of day right now that is affecting it. It's the winds. We can't get copters as close to the ground as they need to be. You know, we've been talking a lot about the swirling winds. Well, those winds swirl horizontally and vertically, and if you get a copter in too close and get them in the wrong wind current, they could be easily put down to the ground. So what we're doing is we have copter up that he's doing observation. As soon as the morning hits, the aircraft are already ordered. We should see by about 8 o'clock in the morning a pretty significant air show start hitting on this. You know, this thing is moving fast. We're getting a lot of spot fires. The sooner that we can start getting some retardants on the ground and start getting these flames knocked down, the better off we're all going to be.
Can you inform us as well? Will they be fueling up at Santa Maria, or where's the fueling station going to be for these air tankers and the DC if it's called out?
Well, the DC-10, I'm not sure where they will be. I know it has been up in Santa Maria lately. It's likely that Santa Maria will be used as a base. It will all depend on conditions. I know the Central Coast right now is not experiencing, you know, any winds to speak of, so it might be a good place. But Fox is another place over in Antelope Valley. Foxfield is another place that could be used as a base as well. I'm not sure what aircraft we're going to see. That all depends. But if the DC-10 is online right now, actually there are a couple of DC-10s. If they're online right now, I think we can expect to see one of them out here, because I don't believe there are any other fires. zone that I know
was
of.
just going to ask you about that. Thanks for answering that, because that makes a significant difference on the amount of resources. And just one more thing about the situation that we're in. I've been quite nervous throughout the night every time we talk about the industrialization there and the oil facilities. That's such a high-risk dynamic for everybody involved. What is going on in that area? And also, as you speak to that, is there any other protections that you do for the rails that are in that area, or rail lines or rail functions that might get caught on fire?
Well, the first thing we do for the rail lines is we stop traffic prior to the trains entering the area. And I have seen, the railroad ties, the wood that holds the tracks together, they're soaked in creosote, which is a combustible material. And I have seen railroad ties catch fire in the past. So just like you would see telephone poles catch fire. So as we see this, this fire develop and kind of as things calm down in the railroad will come through and do inspection on their structures, make sure there is no damage, and if there is, they'll replace that. As far as the oil fields right now, we can get up in there, we can take a look, but there's really nothing we can do. A lot of this equipment up there has systems on it that will shut off flow should anything happen. And so I'm sure that we would have an agency representative reporting into the command post tomorrow to walk us through some of the facilities up there. We know that they have compression plants. They have a lot of wells back there. They do have some tanks back there. And we'll get a good idea of what we have to deal with.
Okay, thank you for that complete report and all the time you've given us throughout this fire. We'll check back in with you. It's going to be an all-nighter for everybody, and no doubt with this size fire, days to come on Christmas week. Yeah. Captain Mike Lindberry, thank you so much from the Ventura County Fire Department on the front line of the Solimar Beach fire north of the city of Ventura. It is at 900 acres, as the captain said, and it is burning on both sides of Highway 101 with a full evacuation now of Solimar Beach, and they're assisting those residents how to get out and get up to Carpinteria as you see these live shots of the hillsides on fire, and that's a wind-driven fire, as you've seen from our reporters, and we're going to be coming back to bring you up to date on the very latest on the Solimar Beach fire coming up in just a moment, and you are watching live coverage of this developing and breaking story on News Channel 3.